This One's Wife. Just put it out of its misery. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. 8 months ago, This One's Wife, in an attempt to upstage other people, told us about something called American Riviera Orchard. Many people thought, why is she opening a chain of retirement homes? That seems a strange market to move into. But then, eventually, we were able to work out what it was that she was bringing to the table. Although it was a rather cryptic launch, commencing of an Instagram post, a landing page which wanted your email address, and a video of This One's Wife arsing about in the kitchen, and then auditioning for The Ring Part 4, it was eventually deduced that it was a lifestyle brand that she was creating. The world yawned collectively. The Duchess of Industrial Beige, having failed at so many things, was now trying to do a Gwyneth or a Martha Stewart. And thus the world waited. Some jam came along. Most people laughed. Many jars of jam have never surfaced of the 50 that were purportedly sent out. When Trooping the Colour came along, desperation set in, as This One's Wife sought to upstage Catherine, Princess of Wales, and all she could muster from her armoury was some dog biscuits and some jam. Thus time ticked by, and American Riviera Orchard hasn't been seen. Indeed, some time ago, I received the input of my PR expert, who memorably summarised, "The patient is dead and should be buried in a shallow grave." And yet, This One's Wife has persisted with the suggestion that it's going to be launched through Netflix, that you're going to be able to buy ARO branded goods, or whatever name it turns out to have, because she's run into problems with the use of American Riviera, through the Netflix house at Marles, that you will be able to learn more about it because it's going to be tied in with the Cookery Show, which is still yet to broadcast. Plenty of promise gain and future faking taking place. Well, Matthew Acton, writing for the Daily Mail, tells us the Duchess of Sussex has asked US authorities for more time to get her lifestyle brand off the ground. I'm not sure how you can get something off the ground when it's already crashed and burned, but that, of course, is the delusion of the narcissist. This One's Wife's legal team has asked US authorities for an extension in her attempt to secure a trademark for her American Riviera Orchard brand. She first applied for the trademark for her jams and homemade goods in the summer, but the bid was rejected in August due to issues with the filing. This One's Wife was then given 3 months to address errors and challenges to the application. She has now asked for another 3 months to complete this. If the deadline is missed, the application will need to be started again. This One's Wife first lodged documents with the US Patent and Trademark Office earlier this year, but suffered an embarrassing blow when the forms were not filled in correctly. Remarkably, the application wasn't even signed, and she didn't send enough money. What a cheapskate. Another firm owning the trademark, Royal Riviera, also challenged the application. Official papers said the owner, Harry and David, is an American institution founded in 1934 with annual sales of £1.7 billion and 3,300 staff. It added that the protest was deemed relevant due to likelihood of confusion and has already been referred to the US Patent Attorney's Office, examining attorney Marco Wright. This One's Wife's legal team, led by top US attorney Marjorie Witter Norman, applied to the Patent and Trademark Office in the States in March for legal protection to trade exclusively using the name American Riviera Orchard. She's been told, however, that the Duchess of Sussex cannot have exclusive rights to American Riviera because it is a commonly used place name to describe the California coast where she and Harry live. Experts at the US government department spent weeks poring over the papers and rejected the application on a raft of grounds. They include applying to market goods in 19 different classes but only sending enough cash to cover 17 trading groups. Applications to sell items like gardening equipment, household goods, soap dispensers and linen were too broad and must be clarified. The original papers were also unverified because they were not signed by this one's wife or her team, and her office was told to send another £533 to cover the shortfall. Oh dear. The Jamfluencers weren't able to help her out, and it would appear that she's messed up yet again. Hardly a surprise, really. But why does she continue to persist with it? Well, in part, it's because it enables her to stay in the public eye. It's something where she's being spoken about, which, as you know, is important for her by virtue of her narcissism. The fact is that she is trying to get this recognised and off the ground, but it's gone nowhere. The project really hasn't achieved anything. You can't buy anything, you can't interact with it, you cannot learn more about what's available, there isn't any content to digest. You would think that whilst all of this was being sorted, that this one's wife might be trying to maintain interest by creating some content, but no. Naturally, you would have expected that all of these things would have been done in the first instance before launching the brand. I mean, after all, isn't this one's wife meant to be whip smart, that she would be able to work all of this out and not have these embarrassing hiccups? But you see, this is the mindset of the mid-range narcissist that she is. She thinks the rules don't apply to her. She thinks that basically she should just click her fingers and it happens. That miraculously people would come and say, oh yes, you're this one's wife, aren't you? A lifestyle brand. Here it is. It's all ready. You don't need to do anything. Do you just want to star in some shitty videos? You do? Okay, well, we can do that for you. She expects that everything is going to be organised. Everything is going to be presented. She can't keep staff, she can't recruit staff, she can't fill forms in properly, she can't count. It's ridiculous, but it's not a surprise because, as mentioned, she thinks that the rules are not applicable to her. She thinks that things should just be gifted to her. She thinks that these things should just magically appear. She also isn't somebody who engages in longevity because her narcissism requires a result now. Certain narcissists build empires, they build legacies, they truly do create. They're more sophisticated. Or, where they're not so sophisticated, they actually do listen to advisors. But this one's wife does neither. Lacking the patience for the long term and lacking the ability to listen to people who know better than her because she regards herself as the smartest person in the room, all that happens is she comes up with an idea, she gets what she needs in the moment from that, it causes people to talk about it, signifying control, she receives fuel, it helps her manage her facade, and then she does nothing with it. Now, one could understand if she would delegate it to other people and say, right, I want this lifestyle brand, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. But even that's not happening. It's just ground to a halt. It's an empty shell. And it really ought to be put out of its misery. You might ask yourself, why on earth does she need more time? It's coming on for 9 months with nothing to show for it. Filling out the application is not difficult, but it's a combination of the fact that she is haphazard in the application of the way that she does things and her sense of entitlement, that she simply thinks these things should just fall into place because it's her. Yes, it's arrogant. Yes, it's high-handed. That's the way that she thinks because of her narcissism. But it's another instance of American Riviera Orchard not actually springing to life, facing another problem, in a way, a somewhat simple problem, which just highlights how much of an abject loser this woman is. It really is time for ARO to be put out of its misery. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.